In the quiet cornfields of rural Iowa, where summer heat pressed down like a heavy quilt, Ethan Harper wiped sweat from his brow and glanced toward the gravel driveway. His wife, Sarah, had just stepped inside their modest two-story farmhouse after checking on the distant combine harvesters working the North 40. The air smelled of dry earth and diesel. "Sarah, they're already cutting the edge of our section," Ethan called through the screen door. "Should be at our field by mid-afternoon." Sarah appeared, wiping her hands on a faded apron. At 33, she still carried the soft strength of the girl had married at 21, though years of sun and worry had etched faint lines around her hazel eyes. "I just came from the mailbox. They're saying the heat index is pushing 105 again. You eaten yet?" "Waiting for you," he answered, the way he always did. Eating alone felt wrong in a house built for family. She smiled tiredly. "Then come in. I made chicken salad sandwiches." Inside the kitchen, the window air conditioner rattled like an old tractor. Ethan washed up at the sink, watching Sarah move between counter and table with the same efficient grace Shed had since high school. They had two daughters, Emily, 10, already taller than most of her classmates, and little Grace, 7, who still believed the corn whispered secrets at night. Both were upstairs doing summer reading packets. While they ate, Sarah's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and sighed. "It's Lily." Ethan's fork paused halfway to his mouth. Lilisara's younger sister was 19, bright-eyed and restless. Shed moved in with them 6 months earlier after dropping out of community college in Des Moines. Jobs were scarce in their corner of the state. Most openings were factory lines or fast food, neither of which suited Lily's restless spirit. She helped around the house and occasionally waitressed at the diner in town, but mostly she drifted, scrolling her phone, painting her nails, waiting for something better. "She's asking if she can borrow the car again tonight," Sarah said. "Says she has a date in Cedar Rapids." Ethan kept his expression neutral. "She's been going out a lot lately." "She's young." Sarah shrugged, but there was a flicker of worry in her voice. "Mom and Dad didn't want her living alone in the city, and honestly, I don't either. At least here we can keep an eye on her." Ethan nodded, though his mind had already wandered. He had noticed Lily more than he should. She moved through the house like a breeze, long legs, sun-kissed skin that somehow stayed golden even in winter, hair the color of ripe wheat falling past her shoulders. When she laughed, a dimple appeared on her left cheek, and her green eyes seemed to catch every bit of light in the room. She wore cut-off denim shorts and tank tops that clung in the humidity, and Ethan had caught himself staring more than one squick. Guilty glances he immediately tried to erase. He hated himself for it. Sarah was good, steady, loyal. They had built this life together, paid off the farmhouse, kept the land productive even when corn prices tanked, raised 2 bright girls. Yet lately, when the house was quiet and Sarah was asleep beside him, his thoughts strayed to the guest room down the hall. That evening, after the girls were in bed, Ethan sat on the porch with a beer, watching fireflies blink across the yard. Lily came out wearing a short sundress, hair loose, smelling faintly of vanilla body spray. "Heading out?" he asked, keeping his tone casual. "Yeah, some guy from Tinder." She rolled her eyes, but there was excitement in her voice. "Don't wait up. Be careful," he said automatically. She flashed that dimpled smile. "Always am, Ethan." When the taillights disappeared down the county road, he stayed on the porch a long time, the beer warming in his hand. Inside, Sarah was folding laundry in the living room, humming softly. He watched her through the screen door solid, familiar, and felt a pang of shame, so sharp it stole his breath. Weeks slipped by. Harvest came early that year. Ethan spent long days in the cab of the combine, radio crackling with weather reports and market prices. At night he fell into bed exhausted, too tired to think. But Lily was always there, bringing cold lemonade to the field, bending to pick up stray tools so the hem of her shorts rode up, laughing at something one of the girls said. Each small moment lodged in him like a splinter. One humid August evening, Sarah took the girls to a county fair sleepover. Ethan stayed behind to service equipment. Lily offered to help. They worked side by side in the machine shed, the air thick with grease and summer heat. She wore a white tank top that had turned nearly transparent with sweat. "You're good with your hands," she teased, watching him tighten a bolt. He forced a laugh. Years of practice. She stepped closer to hand him a wrench. Their fingers brushed. Neither pulled away immediately. Ethan's pulse hammered in his ears. He could smell her shampoo, something floral and sweet. For one dangerous second, he imagined leaning in, pressing his mouth to the curve of her neck. Then headlights swept across the yard. Sarah's minivan, back early because Grace had a stomachache. Lily stepped back, as though burned. Ethan turned to the engine block, pretending to inspect it. The moment passed, but it left a mark. Later that night, lying beside Sarah, Ethan stared at the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles. Sarah slept peacefully, one arm thrown across his chest. He felt sick with guilt and something darker, hungrier. He told himself it was nothing, a passing thought. Everyone had thoughts, but the thoughts kept coming. Months later, business began to improve. Ethan and Sarah opened a small farm supply store on the edge of town. Feed, tools, seed, plus a few household items. Lily started working the counter there instead of the diner. Customers liked her smile, her easy chatter. Sales climbed. Ethan found excuses to stop by the store more often. He told himself he was checking inventory. Really, he wanted to see her lean over the counter to help an older farmer. The way her shirt pulled tight across her chest, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. One slow afternoon, rain drumming on the metal roof, the store empty. Lily locked the front door early. "Storm's bad," she said. "Might as well close." Ethan nodded, throat dry. They stood behind the counter, rain blurring the windows. She turned to him, eyes bright. "You ever think about what you'd do if you could start over?" she asked. "All the time," he admitted. She stepped closer. "Me too." The air between them crackled. Ethan's hand lifted slow, as though moving through water until his fingertips brushed her cheek. Lily didn't flinch. Then thunder cracked overhead, and they both jumped. She laughed nervously. "Guess the sky's telling us something." Ethan dropped his hand. "Yeah, guess so." They didn't speak of it again. But the seed was planted. 3 years slipped by like pages in a seed catalog. Predictable, productive, profitable. The farm supplies store doubled in size. Ethan and Sarah added a second location closer to the interstate, selling everything from John Deere parts to kitchen gadgets. They traded the old pickup for a new F-150 and paid off the mortgage 2 years early. The girls were growing fast. Emily, now 13, all legs and opinions. Grace, 10, still collecting fireflies in mason jars. Life looked good on paper, but Ethan carried a quiet rot inside. Lily had changed. At 22, she was no longer the restless teenager drifting through their house. Working the main store full-time had given her confidence, poise. She wore her hair in loose waves, favored sundresses that showed off sun-brown shoulders, and smiled at customers with an ease that made sales climb. Men noticed. Women noticed. Everyone noticed. Then came Tyler. Tyler Reynolds was 30, owned a chain of 3 car dealerships in Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, drove a black Escalade, and had the kind of easy charm that made people feel important just by shaking his hand. He started stopping by the store for miscellaneous hardware he never seemed to need. Soon he was lingering at the counter, making Lily laugh. Gifts followed. A new iPhone, designer sunglasses, weekend trips to Chicago. She came back from glowing. Sarah was thrilled. She deserved someone stable, she told Ethan one night while they washed dishes. Tyler's good to her. Treats her like gold. Ethan forced a smile. Yeah, good for her. Inside, something twisted. Every time Lily came home wearing something new Tyler had bought, every time she mentioned his name with that soft excitement, Ethan felt the loss like a missing limb. He no longer got the casual brushes in the hallway, the shared glances over breakfast, the way she used to lean against the doorframe and ask his opinion on nothing important. She was moving away physically at first, then emotionally. The wedding was small, elegant, held at a vineyard outside Des Moines. Lily wore white lace that hugged her curves. Tyler looked like he would stepped out of a catalog. Ethan stood beside Sarah in a rented suit, clapping when everyone else did, toasting when it was his turn. He watched Lily walk down the aisle on their father's arm and felt the ground shift under him. After the honeymoon in Cancun, Lily and Tyler moved into a modern house on the west side of Cedar Rapids, granite counters, 3-car garage, views of the river. Visits became less frequent. Holidays, mostly. Each time she came back, she seemed a little more polished, a little less like the girl who once helped him bale hay and cut off shorts. Ethan told himself it was better this way. Safer. The temptation was gone. He threw himself into work, spent more time with the girls, tried to be the husband Sarah deserved. Some nights it almost worked. Then the call came. It was a Tuesday in late October, leaves already turning scarlet across the fields. Sarah answered the phone in the kitchen. Ethan heard her voice drop. When she hung up, she looked pale. "Lily's coming home," she said. For good. Tyler had been cheating. Not once, repeatedly. Lily had walked in on him at a motel with a 24-year-old receptionist from one of his dealerships. When she confronted him, he would shouted, then shoved her against the wall hard enough to leave bruises on her arms. She would left that night with only the clothes she was wearing and the keys to her car. Sarah drove to Cedar Rapids the next day and brought her sister back. Lily arrived hollow-eyed, hair limp, wearing an oversized hoodie and yoga pants. She barely spoke the first week, slept in the guest room again, ate only when Sarah coaxed her. The girls tiptoed around her like she might break. Ethan kept his distance at first. He busied himself in the barn, in the store, anywhere but the house. But he saw her sitting on the porch swing at dusk, staring at nothing, standing in the kitchen in one of Sarah's old robes, looking smaller than he remembered. The bruises faded, but the hurt did not. One evening Sarah had a PTA meeting. The girls were at a sleepover. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. Ethan came in from checking the propane tanks and found Lily at the kitchen table, nursing a mug of tea. She looked up. Their eyes met. For the first time in years, there was no wall between them, no Tyler, no polished life, no excuses. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. She gave a small, broken laugh. "No, but I am here." He pulled out the chair across from her. They sat in silence a long minute. "I thought he was different," she whispered. "I thought. I do not know. That I would finally gotten it right." Ethan's hands clenched on the table. "He did not deserve you." Lily looked at him, really looked. "You always said that. Even when I was dating losers in high school." "I meant it." Something shifted in her expression. Not desire, not yet, but recognition, gratitude, need. She reached across the table. Her fingers brushed his knuckles. Neither moved to pull away. Sarah's car crunched on the gravel outside. They both jerked back like teenagers caught smoking. The moment broke, but it left a crack. Winter came. Snow blanketed the fields. Business slowed. They spent more evenings at home. Sarah started a book club. The girls joined basketball. Lily began helping at the store, again small shifts at first, then full days. Customers welcomed her back. She smiled more, laughed sometimes. Ethan found reasons to be there when she was. Inventory checks, deliveries. He told himself it was innocent. He was just being supportive. Then came the night Sarah and her mother drove to Ames for a quilting retreat 2 full days away. The girls were at a tournament in Davenport. staying overnight with teammates. The house would be empty except for Ethan and Lily. He told himself he would sleep in the barn if he had to. He did not. They ate dinner together, spaghetti, nothing fancy. Laughed about old stories. The time Lily tried to dye her hair purple with Kool-Aid and ended up with a pink scalp for a month. The tension was there, humming under every word. After dishes, they sat on the living room couch with a bottle of red wine Sarah had left. One glass became two. The TV played some crime show neither watched. Lily leaned her head on the back of the couch. "I miss this," she said softly. "Just being here with you." Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs. "Me too." She turned toward him. Their knees touched, neither moved. "I know it is wrong," she whispered. "I know." He swallowed. "We do not have to." But she was already closing the distance. Her mouth was soft, hesitant at first, then urgent. Ethan groaned against her lips, hands sliding into her hair. Years of restraint unraveled in seconds. Clothes came off in a frantic rush her sweater. His flannel. Jeans kicked to the floor. They stumbled to the guest room because neither could wait long enough to climb the stairs to the master. On the narrow bed, they moved like people starved. No words, only gasps, skin on skin, the creak of springs. When it was over, they lay tangled, breathing hard, reality creeping back in. "We can't tell anyone," Lily said against his chest. "I know." But they both knew they would do it again. The accident happened on a sleet-slicked Friday in early December. Sarah had insisted on driving to the second store herself to check a late shipment of snowblowers. Ethan was tied up with a delivery in town. She never made it. A drunk driver in a lifted Ram crossed the center line on Highway 30. The impact spun her minivan into a guardrail. Head trauma. She was gone before the ambulance reached the hospital in Cedar Rapids. Ethan arrived at the ER 30 minutes too late. The doctor's words blurred together: massive intracranial hemorrhage. No chance for survival. He stood in the hallway staring at the beige linoleum until a nurse gently guided him to the room where Sarah lay under a white sheet, face peaceful in a way that made his knees buckle. The funeral was held 3 days later at the little white church on the edge of town. Snow fell in soft, relentless flakes. Half the county came, farmers in Carhartt coats, neighbors carrying casserole dishes, the girls clinging to Ethan like life rafts. Lily stood beside him at the graveside, one gloved hand on Emily's shoulder, the other brushing tears from her own cheek. When the casket lowered, Ethan did not cry. He could not. The grief was too big, a black hole swallowing sound. Afterward, the house filled with people offering condolences, then emptied slowly until only the immediate family remained. The girls went to bed early, exhausted from crying. Ethan sat on the porch steps in the dark, coat unbuttoned, letting the cold seep in. Lily came out wrapped in one of Sarah's old quilts. "You will freeze," she said quietly. He did not answer. She sat beside him anyway. They watched their breath cloud in the porch light. "I should have been the one driving that day," he said at last, voice cracked. "I told her I would go. I lied. I was with you." Lily flinched but did not pull away. "Do not." "I killed her, Lily. Not the drunk. Me." She reached for his hand. He let her take it, but his fingers stayed limp. "You did not know," she whispered. "None of us knew." They sat until the cold forced them inside. In the dim kitchen, Lily made coffee neither drank. When she turned to set the mugs down, Ethan stepped close, too close. She did not step back. He kissed her like a drowning man. Desperate, punishing. She kissed back the same way, grief and guilt and need all tangled together. They stumbled upstairs to the guest room because the master bedroom still smelled like Sarah's lavender soap. Clothes fell away. No tenderness this time. Just raw, frantic motion. When it ended, they lay side by side, breathing ragged, staring at the ceiling. I hate myself, Ethan said into the dark. Me too, Lily answered. But they did not stop. Winter dragged on. The store stayed open. Ethan ran it on autopilot. The girls leaned on Lily more and more. She cooked their meals, helped with homework, braided hair before school. Ethan watched her move through the house, like a ghost of his wife, and felt the shame twist deeper every day. Yet at night, when the girls were asleep, he went to her room or she came to his. Silent, wordless, each time a little more desperate, a little less guilty. In February, the store hosted a winter clearance sale. Snow piled against the windows. Inside, the heaters hummed. Late afternoon, after the last customer left, Ethan locked the front door. Lily was restocking shelves in the back aisle. He found her between rows of insulated coveralls. She turned at the sound of his boots. No words. He backed her against the metal shelving. She wrapped her legs around his waist. Coats rustled. Metal clanged softly. When they finished, they straightened clothes in silence, then went back to work as though nothing had happened. Spring thawed the fields. Planting season arrived. Ethan spent long days in the tractor cab. Lily ran the store. The girls adjusted slowly, painfully. Emily started therapy. Grace drew pictures of her mother that she taped to the fridge. Ethan tried to be present for them, but his mind kept sliding back to the nights with Lily. One evening in May, after a long day of disking, he came home to find Lily waiting on the porch swing. The girls were at a friend's house for a sleepover. She stood when he reached the steps. "We need to talk," she said. He nodded, stomach nodding. Inside, kitchen light harsh, she poured them both whiskey, Sarah's bottle, untouched since the funeral. "I am not sorry," Lily began. "Not for what we have done, but I am sorry for what it cost. For Sarah. For the girls. For you." Ethan stared into his glass. "I can't stop wanting you." "I know." She took a breath. "But we are hurting everyone, including ourselves." He looked up. Her eyes were wet. "So what now?" he asked. She stepped closer. "One more night. Then we stop. For the girls. For Sarah's memory." He wanted to argue. Instead, he pulled her against him. That night was different, slow, deliberate, almost reverent. Afterward, they lay holding each other until dawn. When the first light came through the blinds, Lily slipped out of bed, dressed quietly, and left the room without looking back. They kept the promise. No more stolen moments, no more nights. They coexisted, polite, careful, distant. Lily slept in the guest room, Ethan in the master. They raised the girls together, shared chores, ran the business. Outsiders saw a grieving widower and his supportive sister-in-law. Inside, the silence between them was louder than any argument. Summer came again. The corn grew tall. Ethan worked the fields. Lily managed the store. The girls laughed more. Life moved forward, one careful step at a time. But the want never left. It simply went underground, quiet, patient, waiting. Time did not heal. It simply dulled the edges enough to breathe. 5 years passed over the Iowa fields like slow seasons. The corn still grew tall each summer. The store still turned profit. The girls grew into young women. Emily was now 18, accepted to Iowa State on a partial scholarship for agricultural business. Grace, 15, already taller than her mother had been, with Sarah's same quiet stubbornness. They visited their mother's grave every Sunday, after church, fresh flowers in summer, wreaths in winter. Ethan went with them, always silent, always carrying the same bouquet of white lilies. Lily never left. She stayed in the guest room that had long ago become hers. She ran the main store with quiet efficiency, mentored the girls through heartbreak and homework, cooked Sunday dinners that filled the house with smells of roast chicken and cinnamon. To outsiders, she was the devoted aunt who stepped in when tragedy struck. To the girls, she was the closest thing to a second mother. To Ethan, she was the living reminder of every wrong choice he had ever made. They never touched again after that final night. Not once. The want remained buried under layers of grief, guilt, routine, but it never died. Sometimes, late at night when the house was still, Ethan would stand in the hallway outside her door and listen to her soft breathing. He never knocked. She never opened. Then came the summer Lily turned 28. She began to tire easily. Morning sickness she hid at first, blaming it on bad coffee or a lingering flu. When the truth could no longer be concealed, slights swell beneath loose sweaters. The way she cradled her lower back after long shifts, questions arrived. Sarah's parents asked gently over Sunday dinner. The girls asked directly, eyes wide with confusion and hope. Lily sat at the kitchen table, hands folded, voice steady. "I used a donor," she said. "Sperm bank in Des Moines. I wanted a child. I did not want to wait for someone else to decide my life anymore." It was plausible, modern, accepted in theory. No one pressed further. Emily hugged her tight. Grace asked if she could feel the baby kick when it started moving. Sarah's mother cried happy tears and started knitting blankets. Ethan sat across the table and said nothing. His face stayed blank, but inside something cracked open again, sharp, fresh pain. He knew. Lily never told him in words. She did not have to. The timeline fit too perfectly. The night they had promised would be the last. The way she had looked at him in the gray dawn light before slipping from the bed. He had been too broken then to question anything. Now the math was undeniable. He waited until the house was empty one October afternoon, girls at school, in-laws visiting friends in town. Lily was folding laundry in the living room when he walked in. "Is it mine?" he asked quietly. She did not flinch, did not lie. "Yes." He sank onto the couch, elbows on knees, face in hands. "Why did not you tell me?" "Because you would have tried to stop it," she answered. "Or you would have hated yourself more. Or both. I wanted this baby. I wanted something good to come out of all the wreckage. Something that was not just pain." He looked up. Tears tracked down his cheeks. First time he had cried since the funeral. "I destroyed everything," he said. "Sarah. You. The girls. And now this." Lily knelt in front of him, took his hands, held them tight. "You did not destroy me," she said. "You hurt me. I hurt you. We hurt Sarah most of all. But I chose this. I chose to stay. I chose the girls. I chose the baby. None of that erases what we did, but it does not have to be the end of the story." Ethan stared at her swollen belly. A small, helpless movement rippled beneath her shirt. His child. Their child. "I do not deserve any of this," he whispered. "Maybe not," she said. "But they do. The girls. This baby. They deserve a father who shows up every day, even if he is carrying guilt the size of the state. So show up, Ethan. That is all I am asking." He nodded once. Then again. The tears kept coming. The baby arrived in March, a boy, 7 pounds even, dark hair like Ethan's, green eyes like Lily's. They named him Samuel Sam after Sarah's grandfather. When the nurse placed him in Ethan's arms, something inside him shifted. Not forgiveness, not absolution, but a quiet, fierce determination to be better than the man he had been. Lily moved into the master bedroom after the birth. Not as lovers never again, but as partners in the only way left to them. Co-parents, co-guardians, two people bound by love for the same children and by shared scars too deep to erase. The girls adored their baby brother. Emily helped with night feedings when she was home from college. Grace sang him lullabies she made up herself. The house filled with new sounds, cries, coos, the soft thump of tiny feet learning to crawl. Ethan kept Sarah's picture on the dresser. Every night before bed, he touched the frame, whispered an apology that would never be answered. Then he went downstairs to the living room, where Lily nursed Sam under a soft lamp, and he sat beside her in silence. Sometimes she reached for his hand. Sometimes he let her take it. They never spoke of what had been. They spoke instead of tomorrow's school registrations, soccer practices, college funds, the new hybrid seeds coming out next spring. The fields kept producing. The store kept growing. The seasons turned. And in the quiet spaces between guilt and duty, between memory and hope, something small and stubborn took root. Not redemption, perhaps, but endurance. A life rebuilt from the broken pieces, flawed and fragile, but still growing. One evening in late summer, Ethan stood on the porch watching fireflies rise over the corn. Lily came out with Sam asleep against her shoulder. She leaned against the railing beside him. "Beautiful night," she said. "Yeah," he answered. "It is." They stood there a long time, saying nothing more. The past would always be there, dark, heavy, unchangeable. But the future was still theirs to shape. One careful day at a time.